The ride manufacturer Intimin is one of the best roller coaster manufacturers in the world. They have built a reputation for pushing the limits, breaking records, and setting the bar high. In doing this, they've also built quite a reputation in a negative way, and that is to say that their coasters are not always the most reliable. In this video, I'm going to discuss some of the things that you may not know about Intimin. When you go to an amusement park or a theme park, chances are there's a roller coaster built by Intimin. The big question is, does that coaster have a lot of issues? Is it always prone to breakdowns? Well, the answer to this just might depend on the park that you're going to. What's going on, everyone? My name is Rich. This is Theme Park Motivation, and I just want to talk about Intimin so bad. I absolutely love this manufacturer, and I was just down in Florida, got a bunch of rides on Velocicoaster, and if you've never been on Velocicoaster, it is regarded as one of the best roller coasters in the world. I have to say I totally agree with that. By anybody's standards, it's on everybody's top 10 list. That being said, in riding this coaster, I'm thinking to myself, this manufacturer has built this reputation of being unreliable, but yet when I look around and I look at the Intimins that are unreliable, I noticed something, and that's what I wanted to make this video about. So I'm going to talk about some of the different parks and where these reliability issues come from. And, this is not to poke at some of these other parks, but I'm going to tell you, I do believe that there are more reliable Intimins depending on the park that you're going to. So I'm going to first talk about Cedar Fair. Obviously, they merged together with Six Flags, so it's now Six Flags Corporation. But back when this was Cedar Fair and they were doing all of their own maintenance and they had their own maintenance team at different parks, they had constant budget cuts when it came to maintenance. This is from different numerous sources that I've heard this from. You have to wonder if that plays a bigger role in why their Intimin coasters always seem to have reliability issues. When I go to Cedar Point, it seems like over and over and over again, you go to get on Millennium Force, and this thing is constantly breaking down at the top of the lift hill. When you go on Maverick, I can't tell you how many times I waited in line for this thing just to get to the front of the line, and then it breaks down. Have you ever had any of these experiences happen to you? Be sure to comment below and let me know your thoughts on some of these different breakdowns. And I know it's so frustrating getting to the front of the line and then the coaster is down and out for the rest of the day. It might seem like I'm picking on Cedar Point here. I'm really not. However, when I look at some of the other Cedar Fair parks, and you got Knott's Berry Farm, an Accelerator. I mean, this thing was down for an entire season and then only opened up halfway through another season. Very disappointing. You just have to wonder, was it really a parts problem or whatever other excuse they came up with? Now, by no means am I suggesting that Six Flags or the former Cedar Fair is doing anything that is making these coasters unsafe by any means. I'm just suggesting that they don't budget enough money for these high dollar expensive coasters, and it's really a shame because these are some of the best rides that they have, and I believe that the time and effort should be put into these coasters as well as the funds. Let's take a look at Six Flags Over Georgia and Gold Rusher. This thing was supposed to open the beginning of 2024, had so many different issues. This thing's had 2 different name changes and it hasn't even opened yet. You just have to wonder, do you really put the blame of this delay on the park or the manufacturer? And I think it's the park's fault, because if this would have been, let's say, Cedar Point and they were trying to build this surf coaster or Gold Rusher, it would have been done. Another park that does a piss poor job of maintaining their Intimins, and of course that would be Great Adventure. King Ka is obviously done for good. However, there's another coaster at this park that needs to be mentioned, and that's El Toro. This thing for the last 3 or 4 years has had nothing but issues, and all this park has done has been put a band-aid on this thing. For the last 4 years, there's been numerous incidents where people were injured, and you just have to wonder, why not fix this thing properly and get it done the right way, rather than putting these minor little tweaks in there just to have it ready for the season. I understand it would be expensive, but you already invested $26 or $28 million in a coaster. Why not get it done right? On a somewhat positive note, if you go to Dorney Park, chances are you'll be able to ride the Intimin Impulse coaster, Possessed. In fact, this summer I went to Dorney Park, and believe it or not, all 3 B&M coasters were having major issues. At one point they were evacuating them off of Hydra the Revenge. And Talon, that was having numerous issues all day long. In fact, it wasn't even open the rest of the day. And Iron Menace, which was their brand new coaster for 2024, it kept getting stuck at the top of the lift hill. Well, I talked about some of the parks that don't really take the best care of their Intimin coasters. Now we're going to talk about some of the ones that do take good care of their Intimin coasters. And in my personal opinion, Hershey Park has to be the best park when it comes to taking care of their Intimin coasters. They have 3 coasters built by Intimin: Storm Runner, Fahrenheit, and Sky Rush. And all 3 of these coasters are some of their more reliable coasters at the park. Now you may be wondering, how is Hershey Park able to maintain their Intimins much better than other parks? And the answer is very simple. They have a great maintenance department, and their maintenance team does a phenomenal job during the off season, fine-tuning everything, and you have to hand it to them, because when you go to Hershey Park, very seldom is one of their Intimin coasters down for the entire day. Now, I mentioned Velocicoaster at Universal Studios Islands of Adventure. Just how extraordinary is this coaster? Well, let me tell you something. There was an issue with this coaster about a year ago, and everybody was, oh man, I can't believe that this coaster's down. It's going to be down for a while. Well, within like 4 days, it was back up and running. So it really just shows, when you have a dedicated maintenance staff with unlimited resources, you can maintain these coasters to a high level and a high standard, which is what Hershey Park does. It's what Universal Studios does, and there's numerous other parks out there that really do a phenomenal job with taking care of their Intimin coasters. Now, I know other content creators have made videos on Hagrid's and just how unreliable it is, but I have to say, every time I go to this park, this thing's always up and running, and this thing pumps out about 1,700 riders an hour. It's an absolute marvel of engineering. I mean, seriously, you look at this thing and you see 4 coasters out there on the track at the same exact time. In talking with some of their different ride operators while I was down there, they informed me that this coaster was designed to have 12 trains on it at once. Unfortunately, they've never been able to have more than 10, and the day that we were down there, they were running it with 7 trains. So obviously this is a very complex roller coaster. However, when you go down there, you don't see this thing down for the entire day. It just doesn't happen. Another coaster that you don't have to go very far if you want to ride, and that would be Cheetah Hunt. Here's another great example of a very reliable Intimin. This coaster doesn't have too many problems, and it's really extraordinary when you think about it, because this was one of the first LSM launch coasters that Intimin built. Whether they've updated the LSM launch or not, I don't know, but it just doesn't seem to ever have any issues Whenever I go down there, which is quite a bit, I've never ran into an issue where this coaster broke down or was down for the entire day. Not to say it doesn't happen, but for the most part, it's pretty reliable. So that was my take on Intimin, and I hope everybody enjoyed this. Bottom line is, it seems like parks that dedicate a lot of money towards maintenance are the ones that can have an Intimin and have it be a reliable coaster. If you have a different take on this, love to hear it. Be sure to comment below, and as always, please be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Have a great day.